I guess I could pull the paper and look at it with the base, but I'm afraid to, guys. I'm afraid to.
Okay.
Good morning, everybody, or welcome back to Knorpp and South. Something truly amazing happened to me already this morning. I woke up, was doing my normal routine, and it was time to do my little workout that I do, and I decided to watch a video while I did it. And anyways, I will put a link to that video because it was like one of the most beautiful house tours. But suddenly I had the deep and powerful desire to refinish my table. My dining room table, I got at the thrift store. It was a great price. And then I found that like the mildest heat, like a hot bowl of an oatmeal or soup or anything, left a white ring, haze on it. And so I said in our last video where I gave a tour of the house that I was like, I have no idea why I'm gonna redo it. Well, I felt the desire to actually sand down the top of my table today, and I'm not going to wait a moment longer because that doesn't ever happen. I actually haven't had a huge desire to do things in our rental. I think the renovation that and then the sale of our house that we renovated about a year ago, just over a year ago, just really pooped me out. And then with the move and not knowing, the uncertain future, I just had much less energy than I usually do to do house projects. I was still doing them, but it wasn't like some seasons of my life where I'm just like constantly thinking about what I'll do. But I have some things that really need to be done, and this table is one of them. So I am going to pull the top off of this table and bring it out here and sand it. And I think I'm just gonna paint the base to go for a very like French country vibe. And then I'm gonna stain the top with a dark gel stain and kind of make it distressed and things. So I gotta get the boys to help me take that off because it's a huge tabletop. And then I'm gonna run to the hardware store and get some sandpaper and get going. Let's go inside and look at it though to remind you what it looks like. Right now I have this cheap but effective tablecloth on it. But look at that. I mean, like mugs, like I'm not drinking like super hot stuff, bowls, anything, plates. Like obviously we're not eating boiling food off of these plates, but it's really ridiculous. Anything, like what is that? So I did try some different methods and none of them worked. And so I'm going to sand this top down and lean into some of its defects, but do a different finish on the top so that it's not a problem anymore. And I'll probably sand, I don't know how much of this I'll do. Maybe I'll sand just all of this, and then this base down here, I will give a scuff sanding to, and hopefully just spray paint it, to be honest. Actually, I don't know. Sometimes spray painting takes longer than brush painting unless you use a sprayer, and I'm not that type of person. So I just got my sandpaper, and I'm like a little bit like frantic because I can't believe that I actually want to do this. And I'm like so scared that like if I don't hurry, I will lose the desire to sand this thing. But I'm actually kind of excited. It's been a long time, and now I'm like thinking about how I'll paint it. I decided I probably won't spray paint the base. I will just go to like an antique mall near me and get some Dixie Belle because it's a great paint to work with, and then also I can get the top coat. Dixie Belle, if you haven't ever used it, it's kind of like a lot of furniture gals use it, that are on like Instagram and stuff, and it's because it's just really easy to work with. But if you're wondering where you buy it, you can obviously buy it online, but a lot of times it's at like antique malls. Somebody will have a booth there, or like a home decor store that's more like a boutique. Anyways, so I don't know what color I'll paint it. I could go with something really bright and fun, like a red, like a poppy red, which would be really fun and unexpected in that room, or like a bright yellow. Or I could go with just like an incredible taupe to make it look French country. I don't know. I watched another home tour the other day, and which I also haven't been watching as many of as I used to. But I watched one, and it was just this British lady, and it was like, maybe I'll put a link to that too. Her home was so bright and so fun, and it just creates this like for me, like electrifying, but also not too stuffy an atmosphere where you're just like, man, that's so playful and fun and beautiful. Like, you know, I might have gone a little bit too deep into like not as fun, not as playful. Though I'm sure some of you would say that my home's like busy and way too many colors already. I don't know yet. I don't know what I'm gonna do with the base, but I think that I'll be able to have the sanding done like before lunch today, because it's really just the top and just some scuff sanding on the bottom so the paint will stick, like I said. And then we'll see. I don't know what color. I don't know. Also, love these glasses. They are like reading glasses on the bottom and then just clear on the top, because I wear contacts and my eyesight's really bad. And so if I were to get my own transitions, or not transitions, but whatever glasses, bifocals, they would be like Coke bottles. And so I don't want to do that. And these are great. There's a few different companies that make them, but it's so funny to me. I think in 2020 during the lockdowns, I started to notice that like sometimes small print would be hard to read. And I was like, what? And I thought, oh, I'm probably just spending too much time on screens because of lockdown or something. But then it just kept going until like now, it's a given. I can't look at my phone or my watch or the computer, especially in the evening, without reading glasses, which is just wild, isn't it? It's wild to age. I think you don't realize it, but all of us, at least for me, I just didn't really know I could do that was really going to happen to me. But in a way, it's also kind of exciting. What I like about these is with reading glasses, it's just like a constant this, especially at like dinner time if my food is blurry, or, you know, or looking at the faces of everybody at the table. And so these, I like to be able to keep on. Anyways, it's not an ad, but you should look at the different companies that make them. I'm sure if you're around my age or older, you're getting ads for them on social media, but anyways, that's my plug. Thank you, boys. Thank you. So strong. I guess this is the brand of the table. I think I looked this up before, and it was an expensive table for whoever originally owned it. They must not have put hot things on it. Or maybe they did, they fixed it and then they gave it to the Goodwill, I don't know, or to the restore. I'm so excited. Thank you, boys. If you're new to sanding or furniture refinishing, it's pretty simple. I could have a belt sander that would make it faster, but I'm gonna use my orbital sander. Definitely way better than using one of those little triangle ones. I remember when I first started working on furniture, I had one of those. And they have these like Velcro things, sandpaper. And you're just gonna start with a lower number. So I'm gonna start with 80. You're gonna go with the grain, and you're gonna go slow. And just lean into it, you know, just kind of get into a zone, maybe listen to something like I'm going to, and don't rush it, because then you're gonna leave marks on there. So the grain, I'm gonna actually turn this, so it's easier for me to see. I'm just gonna go slowly this direction. And you're gonna need to put on new pads every once in a while. I'll kind of figure it out. It might be, I'll be able to start to tell when it's not really doing it. Start with the 80, that will really get through it, and then we'll work our way down. I've done half of this table, and it is actually kind of blowing my mind. I haven't refinished furniture in a while, and so I've kind of forgotten the magic of finding a piece that is solid wood, as this one is, and being able to take it back to its, you know, beginning. Obviously, I've just done the first Passover but look at the difference. And I'm suddenly like, oh my gosh, I might have the table of my dreams, and all the while it was sitting under this. I mean, I'm thinking maybe I'll actually sand the base, which is insane. But if I could have this whole thing look like an antique French table, that would be amazing. So even if it takes me a week, I should do it. I don't know what type of wood this is. I think it's mahogany. And so I'm gonna have to think about how I want to finish it, because I don't want it to be super red, but I don't want it to be like farmhouse gray or anything. I'll just have to think about it. And also, you know, you can't use like a water-based product on mahogany. You need to use oil-based, which is fine. I just need to think about it. It might be oak. That would be super cool. but I have a feeling it's mahogany. Just looking at it, the green pattern, I think all those little dots, I think that's mahogany. So it's taken me about 35 minutes to do that half, 45 minutes maybe, and 40 minutes. That's totally worth it to get this from this. So this table was $150 at the thrift store. It's like 7 feet across, I think. Amazing. So I will sand the other side with the 80 grit. If you notice, I'm going about one pass there and back, and then I'm putting a new pad on. That's about how often I'm switching it out so I can stay effective with my sanding. And I also just wiped it down because the dust will make so that the sanding pad will just kind of like stay on the top, like dance along the top, and you want to get into the finish. So I'll do that, then I'll have some lunch and go from there. Okay, the table top is done. It's a little dusty. I should probably use like a sticky cloth, tacky cloth, to wipe off the rest of the dust. I vacuumed it, but that doesn't get all of it. When you have mahogany, it's an open grained wood if you get it wet. And so I don't want to go with a wet rag right now, or else it's going to lose the like buttery surface that I got it to. But I'm going to be done for today because, well, it's 2 o'clock and my body is tired and I don't want to destroy it. And then what I'll do is come back. Hear that squat sound. And I will do the base, I think. I have to think about it a little bit. I like the stain that's remained in the cracks here. You could go back with the sanding piece of sandpaper and you could get those out, but I think it's like it's a nice antique look. I like it. So I'm gonna leave that there and decide about the base and make some decisions about the top, and then go from there. So I'll see you tomorrow. All right, it's the next morning. I got so dusty yesterday, so I'm planning on getting dusty again today. But I got Mike down here and he's gonna help me get the top off of this and get the base up onto a table so that I can start sanding it. As much as it's like, there's like, oh my gosh, I can't believe I'm gonna sand something like that. It's just gonna be so pretty that like, I know I will forever be like, why didn't I just sand that down so I have this solid wood, antique looking mahogany table? So we'll see how I feel in a couple hours though. Okay, I just wiped this down and I'm feeling like, oh my gosh, this is gonna be, you know, I'm just gonna dive in. I don't have a choice, because like, I mean, for me, the choice is clear. I need to just make this wood again. So it's 10:10, we'll see. We'll see how long this takes. But it doesn't matter. So what? It takes you a week, right? It has literally been an hour, 10 after 11. That is a lower back workout and an arm workout and a shoulder and an ab workout. Thankfully, the style of this, and I wouldn't have undertaken it if the style weren't rustic. And so I don't mind all of those. In fact, I really like all of the fake like damage, but I do need to get into these difficult spots. And unfortunately, I think I'm gonna have to hand sand because I don't have one of those like spongy sanders. I don't know if you guys have seen those, but yep. It's time for me to start with some hand sanding. Just fold it over a piece and I'm just going to work it into these spots. Welp, it's 2 p.m. So about 4 hours. I did take a break for lunch for about, I don't know, 15 minutes. And it's done. I sanded it and then I resanded it and then I resanded it so to get all the way up to 220, be nice and smooth. You can see there's nooks and crannies with the dark in it, just like the top. And then there are some spots where I'm like, that's never gonna be seen. I sanded one portion of the top here so that I could test out my stain on it. And what I'm planning on doing is doing a green wash with some paint, like I told you, 2-to-1 water to paint, And then once that's dry, sanding it with some 320 because it'll probably raise the grain a little bit. And then I'm planning on, I think I'm gonna get some special walnut and stain it with that so it's a medium brown, and then seal it. But I want to see, I just don't want to make sure that doesn't get too dark. But I'm super pooped, I'm super dusty, so I'm going to be doing that tomorrow. All right, day 3. It's morning and I can't believe that we're already here. Like I said, I'm like, if it takes you a week, but it didn't take me a week. It took me 6 hours so far. And today, I think I'm gonna be able to finish it. First thing I'm gonna do is I'm gonna take the green paint I picked up yesterday or the day before. Very green. I went with a slightly bluer green, just in case there's some orange in there too that I wanted to counteract. Because remember, orange and blue are opposite on the color wheel, and red and green. So I kind of like leaned, I could have gotten a more teal, but I didn't want to go too gray. Anyways, I am going to water that down. I'm going to brush that on and wipe it off, you'll see. And then once that's dry, I need to run to the store to get some stain. But I don't know why I tell you guys what I'm about to do when you're going to watch me do it. But it's actually me just working through it in my mind what I'm about to do. So I'm excited. Once again, I'm just like, dude, this is so much more of the table I wanted. And it was just a few days effort away. I should have done this right when I got it, but c'est la vie. All right, yesterday, when I was all done, I vacuumed everything down. I'm gonna start on the base because that's underneath, so if I don't get it exactly right, it's not gonna be a big deal. And like I said, I think I already said, but this is gonna be my spot for testing out the stain on top of the green wash to make sure I like it. Yeah, here we go. I got one of my old jam jars. Put in about that much, so I'm going to take the water up to the top of those little ridges there, so it's 2 parts water, 1 part paint. Okay, just going to shake that up and get myself a rag and go get painting. I also have a wet rag so that I can wipe it back. Just going to let it sit for a minute. Scary. I might want to leave it on a little bit longer. I'm going to have to play around with that. You don't want it tinted green, but remember, I'm going to be putting, or I'm telling myself this, I'm going to be putting a stain on top of this that is brown. So might want to leave it just a little bit longer to make sure it's really going to neutralize all that red and orange. I'm not against like wood color, you know, a lot of people these days like just want like the most neutral white, like washed out wood. And because I like antiques, I'm not looking for that, but what I'm looking for, I prefer more of a, and this is probably because it's trendy, but I prefer a walnut color or an oak over a mahogany, which is what I've got here, or cherry. I don't love cherry. I'm gonna water this down more so I don't have to wipe it back that much. I have no idea what my measurements are now because I just dumped some out and filled it up with water the rest of the way. But yeah, I think that's more of the thing to do. It's definitely more like just a complete wash right now. And I got a dry rag, which is better too. So it doesn't just completely pull it off. Just about dry, but I wanted to show you guys, I think you might be able to see it here. Let me go to the other side. Certain woods, water will raise the grain on them. And so this was like smooth as butter before. Do you see how there's all those little flecks now? That's the grain that is raised. And so before I stain this, my stain is oil-based, so it will not raise the grain. I am going to use some 220 grit sandpaper to smooth that out again. I just wanted to share that because back in the day, I never understood why this was happening. I'm like, I got it so smooth, and then this happened. It's because of the water raising the grain. Okay, I just sanded. It really didn't take much, but it's so much smoother now. I'm gonna let it dry a little bit longer. I have a class to go to. Sand it one more time, vacuum it off, and stain, finally. Okay, I just got back from my class and this is fully dry, but very interesting to see it next to the tabletop. I'm feeling pretty good. I think this is going to work, and it's gonna look really good once I get that stain on there, and then I'll be able to do the top and have it be more of the color I was looking for. So happy. It's finally time. Putting gloves on. I'm gonna pour out the stain and we're gonna get going. I'm gonna try the sock method I've seen all over. Oh, little thing fell in there. We're gonna try it. Pretty nice. Well, I guess we're just gonna keep going. First, maybe last layer of stain is on, and where it worked perfectly. But interestingly, in the places where I sanded less, because they were like harder to sand, and I'm like, oh, what's the big deal? That's more green. You guys see that? I'm not exactly sure why. As you can see the green more on those spots. I'm not sure what I'm gonna do. I think when you're looking at it as a whole, you don't really see that, but when you start looking at certain areas, like here, it's pulling really green. And so the question is, do I make the table darker by adding more stain, or do I try to correct that another way? I have to think about it. But it's good that we did the base. I did the base first, so I could think about it. I think what I'm really happy with is it does look like an old English or French table now to me. The color's right, the like variation of color, really good. So I just have to figure out how I'm going to take care of the green hue on some of these rounded spots. Got the top back on. I'm feeling less secure. I have learned a couple lessons. One is, you can see the green right there where I didn't sand as well because I didn't think it was a big deal. So I need to sand this again, sweep it off, then I'm gonna do the green wash, and I'm gonna go pretty light. While that was drying, you probably saw me go back with the second coat, and it made it darker, but it also really neutralized the green. So I'm gonna call it good. I still have to go back and wipe it back, but I'm gonna hope that it's still gonna look not as green. The top, I did a very light coat of the green because I was so bummed about how that was looking. I was like, am I gonna have to like go and sand that all down again? That was the worst part. I'm gonna let that dry. Remember, I have to then sand it again to get rid of all of the like grain that got lifted, and then I will stain it and hope that it looks good. Of course, today is the hottest day so far this year. It's actually in the 80s, and I'm about to start staining. Nervous, but here we go. That is the best job I've ever done at staining a tabletop. I'm actually really happy with that. This is a table that I never could afford to get, being this solid mahogany and in this sort of finish. The tabletop looks amazing. I guess I could pull the paper and look at it with the base, but I'm afraid to, guys, I'm afraid to. Another thing I'm gonna do is close the garage because it's very polleny out there. And there's a lot of wind. Ready? Okay, here I go. Well, the base is definitely darker. And I had to do that so that it wouldn't pull so green. What do we think? Do I need to match that brown on there? I can see that the top is redder too. Oh my gosh, I'm so sweaty. Or do I, what do you think? I don't know, let's look at it. I'm afraid to look at it, can you tell? Okay, the green worked on there because see how much browner that is? But it's also darker. So, question is, Do I need to stain the top one more time? And probably, right? Because if I don't, it's always going to look off. And I don't want to, have that. So in a couple hours, I will come out here and stain the top one more time. Then I'll leave it overnight and come back and seal it. Okay, I've made my peace with it. I'm gonna do another stain on the top. Just otherwise, for the rest of the time, I'm gonna be bothered. Still doesn't really match. Mistakes were made. What it does tell you is that the green wash works if you do it right, because you can see how much browner and how much less red that is. But I don't know what to do. Mike will say it doesn't matter, no one's gonna notice, and he might be right. What I am happy about is that when you're sitting at this table, the tabletop looks pretty. It will match with the antiques in my house. I mean, a lot of the time the light will be from above. You won't really think about it, maybe. Either way, I'm moving forward, I believe. Like that, I believe. Going to seal it tomorrow. Well, I'm sitting inside in the air conditioning, and there might be an elephant in the room, a question you're all wondering on, as I am too. Was it worth doing the green wash? No, I don't think so. I don't know. I think I should have just accepted what wood I had and tried to find a stain that would pull it one way or the other. I don't know. It's hard to say. We'll see when it's all said and done and back in the dining room. This is where it's gonna go. And interestingly, as I glanced in here, I realized this antique piece that's like 200 years old. Look at the difference in wood colors on there. And you never think about it, you just like accept it. Maybe it'll work like that in here. We'll see. It is day 4, and I believe the final day of working on the table. The top and the bottom don't match. I don't know what to tell you about that. So what I'm gonna do is I'm gonna finish the top with this product called Gator Hide from Dixie Belle. It's awesome. I've used it before, and I'll show you how it goes on. It goes on really easily. But I'm not gonna finish the bottom until I decide what I'm gonna do permanently. But temporarily, I'm going to put it in the house. I'm gonna finish the top right now, and then we'll get it in the house. Let me see, I'll probably do 2 to 3 coats. So it'll take me all the way until this evening. I probably won't show you me putting on every coat because it won't be amazing or anything, but I'll show you tomorrow when we put it in the house. How about that? So I am stirring the gator hide. I need to put a glove on. And I'm coming to a realization that many of you at home have probably already come to, and that I just have to redo the bottom. I have to sand it down, and I have to redo it because, let's be honest, that's what has to be done. But in the meantime, I'm gonna finish the top of the table. So I have this great sponge I got for a couple $dollars there at the Dixie Belle booth. It's just damp. Not really anything coming out of it, but it's damp. And I have a paper plate. I'm gonna pour some of this onto my paper plate. I watched somebody on YouTube do this years ago, and it's pretty simple. I'm gonna put it on. Okay, so I have this thin layer on here, and I'm gonna pat it like that. Keep it pretty thin. We'll wipe it off a little on the edges, and then do this. It creates the nicest, smoothest finish. You want to kind of overlap with the last coat you put on. And go with the grain so you won't see your strokes. Nice and thin. What's so nice about it is it doesn't yellow. It's not overly shiny. It's more like satiny, buttery, but it's waterproof and like hard as nails on the top. So, but it's not as sticky. If you're wondering why I don't use poly, I only use poly a couple of times, but both times it was just so difficult that I just started trying other things. And maybe now, since I've been doing this more, poly wouldn't be bad. I've seen a lot of people use the wipe-on, like the wipes or something like that. That seems pretty user-friendly. Something I will never use is poly shades, where it's poly and stain put together. That is so hard to use and to get your stain to look nice. But it's kind of gimmicky because it's like, oh, then you only have to do one step instead of two, but it's so hard to get it to look nice. Not streaky and sticky and bubbly. And so I don't necessarily love the high sheen. You can get a flatter poly, but. All right, it is now day 5. And as you saw just a couple minutes ago, I did some soul searching and realized that I could not leave the base and the top unmatching, but I also needed to be done for the day. And so today we're going to do nothing. Because actually I had the boys bring the table in the house because we needed to use it. We had family coming over to dinner. And once I got in the house and put the chairs around it, I'm like, I don't know. Maybe someday I'll paint the base. What I feel like is if I strip it and try to redo it, it might not match either way because now it might be a little too red or whatever. And so I was like, oh, and it's so much work to strip it and to redo it. And yeah, I'll just go show you. Let's go look. So if you remember, we got this table for 150 bucks. It's huge. It can seat 9 people and it fits in the room perfectly. I didn't ever love the stain and it had some scratches. But very quickly, like the first day we got it, it started getting those white hazy marks in it from like a bowl of oatmeal or soup or a plate with a hot piece of chicken on it, like anything, until it looked like a disaster. If you don't remember, this is what it looked like. And so now that it's all done, ta-da! Feel very, very, very happy with the finish. It's funny because you would think when something has as hard as nails, like shiny finish, that it would be impenetrable, but this one has a very natural finish. We've already used it several times with hot and cold foods. Wipes off great. Love it. I think it works really well with the Biedermeier antique cabinet from Germany that I have right there. It looks great with the floors in here. Very happy with it. But you will also notice that you do not see the base. We have 2 more chairs at the table because Daniel and Lauren are coming into town and my parents were here last night having dinner. But even without those there, you don't see it. It's like you don't see it. Someday I might still paint it or refinish it in some way, but not any day soon. I'm very happy. This solved a major problem. I don't have to be embarrassed of my dining room table anymore. By the time I want to do that, I might be living in a different house. We're in a rental. And at that point, I might want a whole different paint color. Who knows? And since you can't see it, it's as good as gold. I think the color looks great. Just that one light wash of the green made it so it's not too red, but it didn't become cold and it works well. Like I said, I have a lot of antiques, so I just need it to be brown and red enough to not clash with those. And I think it looks really nice with the curtains in there, so I think it looks great. So thanks for coming along, guys. Thanks for being here over almost a decade now of me doing last minute, sometimes very experimental projects like I was on this one. Even if it's not perfect, it works. And so here's my message to you. If there's some project that you're sitting on that you know you need to do, it was so worth the few days that I put into it to not have to be embarrassed and to have it look so much nicer than it ever has in here. So thanks for coming along. And yeah, come back next time. Like I said, Daniel and Lauren are coming into town. I have some cooking videos coming up. It should be a great time. So until then, bye.